Look at me. I'm the size of a kitten up a tree.
You're gorgeous. You're sweet. You're the best woman I've ever met. And I'm not marrying you for your cooking.
Wait, what? Wait.
Well, you got one thing, and that's love.
Right.
And I am a part of this family, so if you need our money for that house, you got it.
Now, you know, only the deepest and most meaningful friendship could get me to deviate from my appointed rounds with my ladies. Great friends, but you gotta get another playmate.
Listen up, y'all. You know how Good Times had Thelma marry that fine football player Keith Anderson in the final season?
Take this vow to love you as I do now and will forever, and pray there be no bounds to this love so that it may grow stronger and stronger.
Well, let me tell you about the brother who played him, Ben Powers. And honey, his Hollywood story is messier than a plate of barbecue ribs.
This meat is tougher than the Dallas defense.
From sliding into one of TV's most beloved shows to watching his next big break crumble faster than a stale cookie. This man went through it, and I'm about to spill all the details. Now listen, Ben Powers, real name Alton Adelbert Powers, came straight from Brooklyn, New York, born July 5th, 1950. And y'all, this wasn't a privileged kid from the suburbs. This was a regular dude from the block who looked at Hollywood and said, I'm gonna make something happen. Growing up in Brooklyn during the 50s and 60s, please, this man saw all the madness, lived through all the chaos, and that street knowledge, that's what made him so authentic on screen that it wasn't even funny. Ben got his first Hollywood acting break in the 1970s with Adrian Hall, director at Trinity Repertory Theater in Providence, Rhode Island. In addition to stage acting, Powers did stand-up comedy, amazing impressions, and sang standards as well as original music he wrote.
On a clear day, rise and look around you.
He was discovered by a Hollywood agent in Providence and signed on to do movies and entertained at the Playboy Club in Las Vegas. But hold up now, before we get too comfortable, let me tell you about the casting call that almost sent this man running for the hills. In 1978, Good Times is on its last season, okay? The show has already been through more drama than a reality TV reunion special. We got John Amos getting the boot.
He'd had about enough of this recalcitrant football player who didn't want to get along and do what he was told, and so my character was killed off.
Esther Rolle walking off set like, I'm done with y'all. Then coming back like, never mind, I need this check.
Miss Roll had insisted that she have a husband on the show. She did not want it to be a perpetuation of the matriarchal black family. And he's going to be a working husband, and he's going to be responsible. Everything worked except the jobs. James Evans, my character, was never able to find a full-time job. But then if he had, a lot of people had critiqued the show on that basis. Why can't this man find a job? They thought it was degrading, to black men.
I loved Good Times. It later got to be not so much fun.
It was a whole circus. The producers were probably pulling their hair out trying to find somebody who could bring some stability to the Evans family without causing more backstage foolishness. And here comes Ben Powers walking into this madness like he's about to save the day. They cast him as Keith Anderson, the professional football player who's gonna sweep Thelma off her feet.
Now let's get out there and kick their butts. Hut one, hut two, let's eat. I'm hungry.
But friend, if you think the casting was simple, you got another thing coming. The show was already catching heat for how it portrayed black families. And now they're bringing in this new character who's supposed to be Mr. Perfect. The pressure was thicker than grits. But wait, because what the writers did to this man's character is absolutely wild. So get this, Ben's character Keith marries Thelma in episode 3 of that final season, right? Sounds sweet, sounds romantic, sounds like they're about to live happily ever after. But honey, these writers said not today. They got this man injured right after the wedding. We're talking about him hurting his leg walking out of the church. I said walking out the church, not playing football, not in some dramatic accident, but literally just walking like a regular person. Now you know that's some petty writing right there. They gave this man the perfect setup for romance and then said, let's make him limp for the rest of the season. Ben Powers had to sit there and act like this made perfect sense while probably thinking, these writers must be out of their ever-loving minds. But that's the professionalism we're talking about. This man made it work even when the storyline was more twisted than a pretzel. He started building a steady career doing guest appearances. We're talking about shows like Gimme a Break,
I'm on a freeway to paradise. Oh, Tony. Hello, sweetheart.
Laverne and Shirley,
Tough luck, buddy. But tomorrow night it's your turn to sleep like a log.
The Greatest American Hero, The New Odd Couple.
What? I mean, look, I may look like a bum, but I can get me some money.
Ben was out here showing Hollywood that he was the kind of professional who could roll with the punches and still deliver quality work. But let me tell you something, that steady paycheck lifestyle, it wasn't always steady, and it definitely wasn't always easy on the bank account. Let me tell you about the role that should have made him richer than a preacher on Collection Sunday, but ended up being his biggest professional nightmare. Couple years later, Ben thought he'd hit the jackpot. We're talking about Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer in 1984, a CBS detective drama that was supposed to be the next big thing. Ben played Moochie, and let me tell you, this character was described as an affable pimp with links to New York's underworld.
Hey, Moo. Michael, I know only the deepest and most meaningful friendship could get me to deviate from my appointed rounds with my ladies.
Now, that's the kind of juicy, complex role that could have really put some coins in his pocket and showed Hollywood what he was working with. The show was getting decent ratings. Ben was finally getting some recognition. Everything was looking up like Sunday morning. But then, the lead actor Stacy Keach gets his behind arrested in London for drug smuggling. Y'all, I cannot make this mess up. Here's Ben Powers minding his business, being professional, doing his job, and his whole career trajectory gets derailed because his co-star decided to play around with some nose candy. But that's not even the craziest part of this whole situation, because what Ben did next shows you exactly what kind of man he really was. When that Mike Hammer show got canceled faster than a bad check, Ben Powers could have been madder than a wet hen. He could have gone to the press, thrown a whole tantrum, called his lawyer, made a scene about how unfair life was treating him. But that wasn't his style. Instead, this man quietly dusted himself off like, all right, what's next? Powers had left the Hollywood scene at the end of 1985 before the detective series was picked up again. See, here's what people don't understand about being a character actor in the 80s and 90s, especially if you're a black man in Hollywood. You're not getting the leading man roles, you're not getting the big money contracts, and you're definitely not getting the respect you deserve from these industry folks. Ben Powers was talented enough to carry his own show. But these Hollywood executives kept putting him in the supporting character box like he was some kind of decoration. But check this out, he never let that nonsense break his spirit. And the way he handled all that constant rejection and typecasting, that's a masterclass in keeping your sanity that'll have you taking notes. Ben Powers understood the game, and instead of fighting it, he decided to play it smarter than everybody else. Instead of getting bitter about the system, he became the guy that directors could count on to show up, know his lines, and deliver every single time. Need somebody to play a cop? Call Ben, he's reliable. Need a smooth-talking character with street smarts? Ben's your man, he won't give you any problems. Need somebody who can make you laugh and cry in the same scene? Ben Powers is ready to work.
And you might and love.
His Good Times co-star Bern Nadette Stanis said it best. I really liked him. He was so professional, so talented. Above all, he was a really nice guy. Now, in an industry full of divas, ego trips, and backstage drama, being known as the nice guy who gets the job done, that's a superpower, and Ben Powers had it mastered. But TV wasn't his only hustle. Ben also jumped into movies, appearing in some cult classics that y'all probably didn't even know he was in. We're talking about Cheech and Chong's next movie, Things Are Tough All Over, and The Man Who Loved Women. Now, these weren't Oscar-worthy films that were gonna win him any awards, but they showed Ben's versatility and his willingness to take on different types of projects just to keep working and keep the money flowing. While Ben's professional life was all about rolling with the punches and adapting to whatever Hollywood threw at him, his personal life was where he found his peace and stability. He was married to Julia Harper, had 4 children, and unlike a lot of these Hollywood marriages that end up in the tabloids every other week, theirs wasn't providing content for the gossip magazines. They kept their relationship private, kept their business to themselves, and built something real away from all the cameras and craziness. But as the years went on, Ben started facing some serious health challenges that weren't playing around. By the 2000s, he was dealing with liver problems that would eventually turn into liver cancer. Now, this is where the story gets really real, because Ben Powers faced his illness the same way he faced everything else in his life, with dignity, with grace, and without making a big public spectacle about his struggles. And the way his Good Times family showed up for him during his illness, that's the part of this story that's gonna have you reaching for the tissues. When Ben Powers passed away on April 6, 2015, in New Bedford, Massachusetts, at the age of 64, he left behind a legacy that was about so much more than just the characters he played on screen. His Good Times co-stars remembered him as a true professional, a genuine friend, and a man who brought joy to millions of viewers even when he was going through his own personal struggles behind the scenes. Bern Nadette Stanis and the rest of the Good Times family made sure his contributions to the show and to television weren't forgotten. They talked about how he brought stability to that final season, how he helped the show end on a positive note, and how he represented the kind of strong black male character that television needed to see more of during that era. But here's what really gets me about Ben's story. He never got the recognition he deserved while he was alive, but his impact on television and on the actors he worked with was undeniable. He proved that you could have a successful career in Hollywood without selling your soul or compromising your values. He will always be remembered as the handsome husband of Thelma Evans of Good Times TV show.